I'm through with love, I'll never fall again. Said adieu to love, don't ever call again. For I must have you or no one. And so I'm through with love. I've locked my heart, I'll keep my feelings safe. I have stocked my heart with icy frigidity, and I mean to care for no one.
Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy is remembered till this day for different reasons. Most will agree they are some of the greatest superhero movies ever made. Today, the trilogy's legacy lives through the internet with edits and all sorts of memes. And in that territory in particular, it's not lacking. But while Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker, James Franco's Harry Osborn, and J.K. Simmons' J. Jonah Jameson are all celebrated to this day for their performances, there is one character from that trilogy who gets more hate than she deserves. And that is Kirsten Dunst's Mary Jane Watson. The biggest criticism the character receives is that she is the damsel in distress in all three films and always needs to be rescued. And to be fair, that's not false. But this was a well-known trope used by most superhero movies at the time. And even before that, Superman did it, Batman did it, Batman Begins did it, The Dark Knight played with it as well. Even Fox's X-Men did it. And it didn't come from nowhere either. It was especially common in comic books. Writer Gail Simone even gave it the name of Women in Refrigerator in 1999 and protested against it. It's bad and it took comic book movies time to catch up, but that doesn't make it a character flaw. It's just an aspect of the trilogy that goes together with the time it was made. Criticizing the Raimi trilogy for cliches in comic book films and things that aged badly is like criticizing Superman the movie for the lack of representation of people of color. Reducing MJ to a damsel in distress is a complete disrespect to what Raimi was able to accomplish with his character, and here is why. The first time we are introduced to Mary Jane Watson is a scene where everyone is a complete dick to Peter Parker. When I say everyone, I mean everyone. The driver, Flash, this girl, this guy. Everyone on the bus was laughing at this nerd running behind the school bus. Everyone except...
He's been chasing us since Woodhaven Boulevard.
From the first scene we already understand why Peter will fall in love with such a person, and every scene from there enhances that view, making the audience root for Peter to end up with this girl who clearly deserves better than this jerk. Understanding why Peter would be attracted to the love interest is something we haven't seen in a Spider-Man movie since 2007. But what's even more fascinating about MJ is that she is not defined by Peter. She's always had her own arcs in his movies. In the first Spider-Man, we get a glimpse of her family life, the toxic and abusive household she grew up in. Knowing the kind of asshole she's dating at the beginning of the film, it is easy to understand that she's probably dating the guy for popularity. She wants to be seen. That's probably why after Flash Thompson, she goes straight to the son of one of the richest men in New York, even though she clearly doesn't care about him that much. This scene is the first time in the movie we see the real MJ. She tells Peter about a dream.
I wanna act on stage.
Really?
And as the insecure person she is, she expects him to not take her seriously, like her father.
Well, that's perfect. You're awesome in all the school plays.
Really?
Yeah.
But he actually listens because Peter sees her, he cares, and has always been paying attention. Mary Jane ends the first Spider-Man asking the dog that is Peter Parker to be her boyfriend. He won't make people see her because he is no one. But she doesn't care at that point. All that matters is that he sees her for who she is. Her character progression is brilliant. It's not a coincidence that she kisses Spider-Man before kissing Peter. It's not by accident that she falls in love with Spider-Man before Peter.
Oh, him.
It's because at that point she was still the Mary Jane from high school who needs a successful man to feel successful. It is when she chooses Peter, who she thinks is just a normal guy from New York, that she completes her arc. You cannot possibly watch this and call her a bad character because she was screaming a lot. In Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi takes her character even further, mirroring her arc to Peter's. If the first Spider-Man is about growing up and maturing, Spider-Man 2 is all about choice. While Peter struggles between following his dream of a life with Mary Jane and saving people, MJ struggles with the idea of either taking a chance on Peter or marry a wealthy and successful man that will bring her life stability and peace. Finding out that Peter was Spider-Man all this time doesn't make the choice easy. It offers clarity, not security. She knows why he's being so weird all this time, but it only makes things more complicated on her character's perspective. Peter's lesson at the end is that he will have to sacrifice his dream for the greater good, while MJ's lesson is the complete opposite. She doesn't have to sacrifice her dream of a life with someone she truly loves for stability and security. This was the perfect conclusion for both Peter and MJ and the peak of both of their characters. Spider-Man 3 is probably Kirsten Dunst's best performance in the entire trilogy. Unfortunately, it's also where people get their worst take about this trilogy from. I mean, I can understand most of the criticism even though I don't share the same view. But MJ, Peter and Harry's relationship is definitely the heart of the film. Spider-Man 3 is all about forgiveness, a story about friends hurting each other and where each of them reach their lowest points, but at the end choose love and forgiveness over hatred and resentment. Peter hurts Harry, Harry hurts Peter, Peter hurts MJ, MJ sort of hurts Peter too. The characters are pushed to a point of no return, but their love for each other make them come back. Harry is consumed by revenge, but at the end his friendship with Peter helps him come back. Peter is consumed by, fame and power at first, then his hatred for Sandman, but at the end he chooses forgiveness and selflessness. MJ though has the most interesting arc of them all. She goes from envy, goes through a period of self-doubt, then at some point literally becomes Peter and Harry's punching bag. Harry assaulted her, yet she was there for him until the very end, holding his hand like the good friend she is. Peter hit her, but we end the movie with the two of them dancing, a symbol of forgiveness. Raimi didn't use any words for this scene because he didn't need to. The silence says it all. There is a deleted scene of MJ visiting Harry and explaining to him the importance of friendship and forgiveness. The dialogue even made it to the trailers.
We've all done terrible things to each other, but we have to forgive each other, or everything we ever were will mean nothing.
Spider-Man 3 may be a mess on a filmmaking perspective, but it is the perfect conclusion for all these characters. And even though it isn't the best in the trilogy, it is the reason I still love this trilogy as much as I do, and will remember it for the rest of my life. I guess what I'm trying to say is that Sam Raimi didn't make superhero movies that just happened to have people in them. He made movies about people that just happened to have a superhero and supervillains in them. These movies are human, maybe too human for some. All the characters in these movies are flawed, sometimes goofy, like normal people are supposed to be. And MJ is the perfect representation of that. She is just a normal girl with a dream. She is flawed and relatable. These movies never portrayed her as a perfect character, but that's the thing, she shouldn't be. The fact that a character does not depend on Peter Parker should be appreciated more, especially considering that these movies were made at a time when love interests only needed to look pretty and motivate the main characters. MJ does that while being her own person, with her own arcs, dreams, aspirations, and a very distinct personality. I don't get why people call a relationship with Peter toxic when they have the most genuine relationship in any superhero movie ever. The only crime MJ committed in these movies was not being perfect. Maybe she was too human, maybe Sam Raimi made her too human, but personally, I think Kirsten Dunst deserves to be remembered and talked about as much as James Franco and Tobey Maguire for her performances in these movies. Because the Sam Raimi trilogy does not work without Kirsten Dunst, Mary Jane Watson.
act on stage.
Really? Well, that's perfect.
I'd like to sing on stage for the rest of my life with you in the first row.
I'll be there.
The thing that's known